What's up, guys? It's me again, Christian Rodriguez. And I know you've clicked on this video because you're facing fear and doubt, right? Well, you're in the right place, right? So I'll just jump straight into it. So it's normal to feel this way. It's normal to face, like fear and doubt when you're starting something new, right? Maybe you're starting you made the leap of faith and you're starting a business, right? You're maybe you finally got a sales job, right? Instead of going for a regular 9 to 5 corporate job, right? Maybe you joined a fight gym or you're posting content for the first time, like whatever it is, right? Anything, right? You're facing fear, doubt, uncertainty, like the uncomfortable shit, right? And that's the thing about fear is it could be so debilitating. It could keep you just static. It could keep you just sitting there, right? And it's kind of like your comfort zone, like pulling you back, telling you to to stay where you are, stay in safety, right? But that comfort zone that's telling you to stay in safety is the biggest enemy. That's what's going to keep you weak, right? And you don't want to be weak. You don't want to just stay in your comfort zone. You want to get out of it, right? And I've struggled with this. That's why I'm making a video on it. And I've made a video on this earlier when I like one of my first videos is on this, but I kind of want to go more in depth with it, especially with the experience that I have now, right? So I've mentioned this many times, but I've read um the Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, and one of the laws is laws of aimlessness, and he talks about Martin Luther King, right? Like leading up to it, he uses like example stories. But I was reading what he talked about Martin Luther King, and Martin Luther King Jr. faced doubt, uncertainty, um, he faced fear, right? And for good reason. If we're going to be completely honest here, he was getting death threats. He was getting death threats. He was getting called the N word. He he was getting his ass kicked. Like every rally he was doing, he was getting his ass kicked. Right, every peaceful protest that he was doing in the South, in one of those southern cities, he was getting hosed down, bitten by dogs, arrested, death threats. Like the typical stuff that happens when you peacefully protest in the South during the Jim Crow law days, right? And I kind of don't blame him for facing fear and doubt at this point, right? I Do you blame him? I kind of don't. But it made me realize something. It made me like kind of change the perspective of it, and I was just like, "Oh wait, so if King still was able to go after his purpose, go after his goal to like to make it more equal for blacks and whites to live together, right, in the South, right? If he was able to do that, right, and he was able to go through all this shit, even his house was bombed with his family in it, right? He was able to go through all of this. Then my issues, right, like the worst case scenario for me isn't that bad, right? Like even if like something like the worst case scenario happened, right? Okay, worse, you lose some money, maybe you lost some time, maybe you you lose money, you lose some time, maybe you feel a little embarrassed, right? Well, that's the worst case scenario. You have to move back in with your parents. That's the worst case scenario, which it's not even, it's like peanuts compared to what Martin Luther King had to deal with. And that's the way I thought of it. That's what helped me like kind of like think about it in that way. That's why that chapter really like impacted me, because I was just like, oh shit, like it makes sense. Like what am I what do I have to do to complain about? Like I can't, like I'm facing fear and doubt, right? But King was facing fear and doubt, and it was like for more serious shit. So it just made me think of perspective. And that's the thing. What kept King going is that he had some sort of purpose, right? And that's, I think, the point of what combats fear and doubt, because fear and doubt will always be there, but courage is needed. So courage, right? The only You cannot have courage without fear and doubt. So you need some sort of courage to overcome it, right? And that's the thing. When you have a purpose, right, you're more likely to have the courage to overcome the fear and doubt, right? To feel the uncertain, to face the uncertainty, right? And that's the thing. even with like King's purpose obviously was to make it more equal for blacks in the South, right? Make life easier for blacks in the United States, right? And you have to have some sort of purpose, obviously, or some sort of goals, something to work for, right? And it makes a lot of sense because when you have some sort of like direction to go to, you have some sort of like destination on the map, you're gonna go in that direction, right? You're gonna go in that direction. You're gonna take actions toward that directions, even if it's uncertain, maybe even if it's uncomfortable. You might have to get help. You might have to hire a coach. You might have to do something for that action. You might have to go to events that you normally wouldn't go to, just so you could achieve whatever you want to achieve, right? And that's the thing. You need a really strong you need a really strong tailwind, right? That's going to push you forward, right? And the thing about a tailwind is it can go in different. It could be from something positive, right? It could be maybe you want a Lamborghini, right? Something very positive, or you want to help your mom. Actually, or it could be for something negative, like you could help your mom from poverty, right? Or you could overcome a betrayal, right? I actually think that the negative one is stronger than the positive one because the negative one forces you to get out of bed. It refuses to stay below, right? So I'll give you an example. Like when I worked in sales, I was working in sales in New York City. This sales job, I fucking hated it, but it taught me a lot of valuable lessons, right? From working that job, and I was out in the cold. It was B2C, right? For like 8 to 9 hours a day, and the commute sucked too. So I was gone for like 12 hours a day. I was like gone. I would leave like 7 in the morning, and I'd be back at like 9 o'clock. I was like gone for the entire day, right? At least 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days, 7 days. But I was gone, and I remember I was just walking. I mean, I remember I was just in the cold, you know, facing rejection, sometimes facing rude people, stuff like that. And that could be exhausting, right? Like, who the hell is going to volunteer to do that? That's not fun, right? And that's why my job, they really made it, they really made you come up with a why. They were like, what is your why, right? And they always reminded you, what is your why? Because who's going to volunteer to stand in the cold New York winters and possibly dealing with rejection, dealing with rude people, right? Dealing with all this stuff. Like, you have to have some sort of reason why you're going through that chaos, right? Or why you're going through that fear of like just getting out of your comfort zone and just pitching a cause to like 10 different people, right? In a span of 5 minutes, right? And I even though I hated the sales job, it kind of taught me this lesson that even with like fear and doubt, right, and uncertainty, you still have to the what keeps you going is just like your reasoning behind it. So like your why, your deep seated why behind it. That's really what I want to get through. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys appreciate it. I'm gonna keep posting more content. Subscribe. Take care.